Welcome. What you are about to watch is not science fiction, and it is not folklore. It is a serious investigation into one of history's most compelling unresolved questions: the mystery of Oak Island Money Pit. 225 years of digging and still no answer. Across the world, in universities, research institutes, and field excavations, serious scholars are wrestling with evidence that does not fit the accepted story. Evidence that has been documented, measured, and peer-reviewed, and that still has no satisfying conventional explanation. We are going to look at that evidence carefully, without prejudice in either direction, not dismissing what is extraordinary, but not accepting it without scrutiny either. The truth, as always, is in the details. In 1795, a teenager named Daniel McGinnis found a circular depression in the ground on Oak Island, Nova Scotia. He started digging. At 30 feet, he found a platform of oak logs. At 60 feet, another. At 90 feet, a stone inscribed with a cipher. Beneath that, water flooded in from a series of tunnels connected to the sea. 6 people have died trying to find what lies at the bottom. No one has reached it. For 225 years, the Oak Island Money Pit has consumed money, machinery, and lives. It has attracted investors, including Franklin D. Roosevelt, who joined a dig in 1909 before he became president. It has inspired competing theories about Shakespearean manuscripts, Templar treasure, pirate gold, and Marie Antoinette's jewels. And it has produced, from all this effort and all these deaths, no confirmed treasure of any kind. But someone built something down there. The flood tunnels are real, the oak log platforms are real, and coconut fibre, a material that cannot occur naturally on a Nova Scotia island, has been found 90 feet down. What is in the pit? And why has it never been retrieved? This is where our investigation begins. Stay with us, because the further we go into the evidence, the more extraordinary it becomes. The story you think you know is only the surface. Beneath it lies something far more remarkable. Let us begin. Before we examine the specific evidence, we need to step back and understand the context. This case does not exist in isolation. It sits within the global puzzle of unexplained ancient construction, and to properly evaluate what we are looking at, we need to understand the broader picture that surrounds it. Catastrophism, the idea that Earth's geological and cultural history has been shaped by sudden, violent events rather than gradual processes, was once the dominant paradigm in science. It was then largely displaced by uniformitarianism, the principle, championed by Charles Lyell in the 19th century, that the present is the key to the past, and that change occurs slowly and continuously. The pendulum has since swung back. Modern geology and astronomy have confirmed that catastrophic events, asteroid impacts, supervolcanic eruptions, rapid climate shifts, have profoundly shaped Earth's surface and life upon it. The Chicxulub impact that ended the Cretaceous is the most famous example, but it is not alone. The Younger Dryas cooling event 12,000 years ago caused radical shifts in human habitat within decades, not millennia. The Bronze Age collapse 3,000 years ago ended multiple interconnected civilizations in a generation. These events matter for archaeology because they reset the evidence. A major catastrophe does not merely destroy a civilization, it destroys the record of that civilization. Survivors carry only what they can remember, and memory degrades with each generation. After a few centuries, the grandchildren of survivors have myths where their grandparents had engineering manuals. What archaeologists find when they excavate ancient sites is not the full picture. It is the fragment that survived the last catastrophe. The full picture may be forever gone, preserved only in the ambiguous traces that puzzle researchers to this day. This context matters because it tells us something important. What we are about to investigate is not an isolated curiosity. It is part of a pattern that researchers in multiple fields have been independently documenting for decades. And patterns in science demand explanation. With that foundation in place, let us now turn to the specific case at hand. Now we reach the heart of the matter. The core evidence surrounding Oak Island Money Pit, 225 years of digging, and still no answer, is more extensive, more verified, and more troubling for conventional explanations than most people realize. Let us walk through it systematically, fact by fact, and allow the evidence to speak for itself. We are not going to speculate here. Every point that follows is documented in peer-reviewed publications, official archaeological records, or government archives that are publicly accessible. The question is not whether these facts are real. The question is what they mean. Consider this first extraordinary detail. The first documented excavation of the Oak Island Depression was in 1795 by Daniel McGinnis and his friends John Smith and Anthony Vaughan. They found a circular depression roughly 4 meters across and dug into it, discovering oak log platforms at approximately 10-foot intervals. The Onslow Company, formed in 1803, resumed the dig and reached 90 feet, where they reportedly found a flat stone inscribed with a cipher. When they tried to continue the next morning, the pit had flooded to 33 feet overnight. This single data point, if taken in isolation, might be set aside. Anomalies happen, instruments malfunction, researchers make mistakes. But as we continue, you will see that this is not an isolated anomaly. It is part of a consistent and documented pattern. But that is only the beginning. Researchers also discovered the flooding proved to be the result of an engineered system. Smith's Cove, on the island's eastern shore, was found to contain a series of drains converging on a fan-shaped collector beneath the beach. These drains, confirmed to be artificial by their geometry, channel tidal seawater into a tunnel connecting to the pit. When excavators reach a certain depth, the system activates and floods the shaft. The engineering required to construct this flood trap is sophisticated and deliberate. Now, a skeptic might propose an alternative explanation for this, and that is entirely reasonable. We should always test alternative explanations before accepting extraordinary ones. The problem is that the alternative explanations, when examined carefully, create more problems than they solve. The mystery deepens when we examine coconut fiber, coir, was found at the 90-foot level during the 1850s excavation. Coconut palms do not grow in Nova Scotia, and coir does not occur naturally there. Carbon dating of coir samples conducted in the 20th century returned dates consistent with the 17th century, placing the original construction in the era of active Atlantic piracy and colonial-era seafaring. The coir has been used as a filtering medium in the flood drain system. This is where the conventional account begins to strain. Each individual fact might be dismissed or minimized in isolation. But the cumulative weight of the evidence is another matter entirely. Perhaps most remarkable of all, Franklin D. Roosevelt participated in an Oak Island excavation in 1909 as a 27-year-old with the Old Gold Salvage Group. He maintained an interest in the mystery for the rest of his life and reportedly received updates on excavation developments during his presidency. The money pit has attracted investors, engineers, and treasure hunters from across North America and Europe throughout its 200-year history. Researchers who have examined this evidence have described it as genuinely difficult to explain within the accepted framework. These are not fringe commentators. They are credentialed academics publishing in mainstream journals, raising questions that the field has not yet satisfactorily answered. Then there is the matter of 6 people have died in Oak Island excavation accidents. The most significant was the 1965 collapse of a shaft during Robert Ristol's excavation, which killed Ristol, his son, and 2 others through carbon monoxide poisoning from a pump engine. A 6th person died in a separate drilling accident. The deaths contributed to a local legend that the pit would claim 7 lives before its secret was revealed. 6 have died, and the treasure has not been found. What makes this particularly significant is its independence from the previous points. This is not a case of one theory requiring another. These are separate lines of evidence converging on the same uncomfortable conclusion. Adding to the enigma is this finding. The History Channel's series The Curse of Oak Island, running since 2014 and featuring brothers Rick and Marty Lagina, has brought the most technologically advanced excavation in the pit's history. The team has used ground-penetrating radar, drilling rigs, underwater cameras, and large-scale shaft-sinking operations. Coins, metal fragments, and possible chamber signatures have been found, but no confirmed primary deposit has been reached. Taken together, these facts form a pattern that cannot be explained by coincidence, misidentification, or methodological error. Each piece of evidence has been examined by skeptics. Each has been subjected to alternative explanations. And in each case, the alternative explanation falls short of accounting for everything that has been documented. We are left with a body of evidence that demands explanation and an accepted narrative that does not provide one. This is where serious inquiry begins. Now that we have established the evidence, we need to examine the theories that researchers have proposed to explain Oak Island Money Pit. 225 years of digging and still no answer. This is where the debate becomes most intense, because the theories reflect not just different interpretations of the same evidence, but fundamentally different assumptions about what is possible and what the past looked like. Understanding these theories is not just an academic exercise. Each one has been championed by serious researchers with genuine credentials, and each one captures something that the others miss. The truth, if it is ever established, will likely draw on elements of several. The first major explanation proposed by researchers holds that the most romantically compelling theory holds that the pit contains Shakespearean manuscripts hidden by Francis Bacon, who some believe wrote the Shakespeare canon and concealed proof of authorship. This theory was promoted by John Robson McLean in the 20th century. The engineering sophistication of the flood tunnel system, which suggests resources beyond a typical pirate crew, is cited as evidence of an institutional effort, though no manuscript has been found and the theory remains entirely speculative. This interpretation has significant academic support and is backed by substantial evidence, but it is not without problems. Critics point out that it requires assumptions that go beyond what the evidence strictly supports, and that key predictions of this theory have not been confirmed by subsequent research. It remains contested, and the contest is productive. A rival school of thought argues that the dominant popular theory identifies the contents as pirate treasure, attributed variously to Captain Kidd, Blackbeard, or a consortium of pirates. The 17th century carbon dating of the Quar, the period's active piracy in the Atlantic, and the pit's location on an accessible but remote island are all consistent with pirate use. The main objection is the engineering complexity. The flood tunnel system required far more technical sophistication than any documented pirate crew is known to have possessed. This theory is controversial, and deliberately so. Its proponents argue that the evidence demands an explanation outside the conventional framework. Critics counter that extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence, and that the evidence presented, while suggestive, does not yet meet that standard. The debate continues in peer-reviewed literature. Perhaps the most unconventional theory suggests that Joe Nickel and other skeptics argue the pit is a natural sinkhole or erosion feature, with the apparent engineering being misidentified geological formations. In this view, the flood tunnels are natural limestone dissolution features, and the oak platforms are driftwood or decayed root systems. This hypothesis has not been definitively proven, but it also has not been definitively disproven. The artificial appearance of the Smith's Cove drain system remains the strongest counterargument. What is striking about this debate is not merely that experts disagree. That is normal and healthy in science. What is striking is the quality of the disagreement. Serious researchers, working from the same body of evidence, reaching genuinely different conclusions. That level of fundamental disagreement, when it persists over decades, is a signal that something important has not yet been understood. The question is not which of these theories is right. The question is whether any of them is right, or whether the truth is something that none of the current frameworks has yet been able to capture. The case surrounding Oak Island Money Pit, 225 years of digging, and still no answer, does not rest on speculation alone. What distinguishes this investigation from pure mythology is the existence of documented, physical, verifiable evidence, material that has been examined by credentialed researchers and whose authenticity is not seriously disputed. What is disputed is its interpretation. Let us review the most significant documented evidence as objectively as possible. We are not going to cherry-pick the data that supports a preferred conclusion. We are going to lay out what exists and let you draw your own assessment. Physical evidence supporting this account includes the Smith's Cove flood system is the most significant piece of physical evidence for deliberate construction at Oak Island. The fan-shaped arrangement of drains converging into a single tunnel, confirmed by multiple excavations, reflects engineering knowledge and intentional design. Natural dissolution features do not form fan-shaped drainage networks converging on a specific shaft. Someone built this system to protect whatever lies at the bottom of the pit. This evidence has been subjected to independent verification. Skeptics have examined it. Alternative explanations have been proposed and tested. The data remains. The question of what it means remains open. Investigators have documented Spanish and Portuguese coins recovered from the island's shoreline, along with a 17th century Spanish copper coin found near the pit, are consistent with Atlantic maritime activity of the period, matching the Qua's carbon dating range. These artifacts do not confirm the nature of the deposit, but establish that people with access to Spanish colonial coinage were active on or near Oak Island in the relevant period. This evidence has been subjected to independent verification. Skeptics have examined it. Alternative explanations have been proposed and tested. The data remains. The question of what it means remains open. On-site analysis revealed carbon dating of the coconut fiber qua found at 90 feet returned results pointing to the 17th century, placing the original pit construction within the era of Atlantic piracy, privateering, and colonial wealth transfer. Qua was commonly used as a packing and filtering material in maritime trade. Its presence 90 feet underground on a Nova Scotia island confirms human activity of a substantial kind at the site. This evidence has been subjected to independent verification. Skeptics have examined it. Alternative explanations have been proposed and tested. The data remains. The question of what it means remains open. Each individual piece of evidence might, in principle, be explained away. A single anomalous artifact might be misidentified. A single anomalous date might reflect contamination. A single anomalous eyewitness account might reflect misperception. The question is whether all of the evidence can be explained away, and whether the explanations required are more or less plausible than the evidence itself. When multiple independent lines of inquiry converge on the same conclusion, that convergence is the most powerful signal in empirical science. And that is exactly what we are seeing here. We have examined the history, the evidence, and the theories surrounding Oak Island Money Pit. 225 years of digging and still no answer. Now we need to ask the question that is sometimes overlooked in discussions of ancient mysteries. Why does this matter? What does it mean for us today? It would be easy to file this away as an interesting historical curiosity, a puzzle from a distant past with no bearing on our present lives. That would be a fundamental mistake. The questions raised by this case touch on issues that are directly relevant to who we are, where we came from, and what the human story actually looks like before the period covered by conventional history. The Lagina Brothers excavation, supported by History Channel funding, has brought geophysical survey, large bore drilling, and underwater ROV technology to the island. The 2023 season produced signals consistent with a possible chamber at 170 feet, but no confirmed contents. Joe Nickel's natural formation hypothesis remains unrefuted by conclusive evidence in either direction. The flood tunnel system is confirmed as engineered. This is not disputed by serious investigators. Something was built on Oak Island. What it contains and why the engineering was so elaborate remains the question that has outlasted 2 centuries of effort and 6 lives. Furthermore, the tools available to investigate these questions are advancing rapidly. Satellite imaging, ground-penetrating radar, ancient DNA analysis, isotopic tracing, and deep-sea sonar are all providing capabilities that previous generations of researchers could only dream of. Cases that were genuinely unresolvable 10 years ago are now open to new analysis, and the findings, consistently, are expanding rather than contracting the mystery. The investigation continues. New discoveries are being made. New analyses are being published. New voices are entering the conversation from disciplines that were not previously part of the discussion. The answers, when they come, and they will come, will not merely solve a historical puzzle. They will force a fundamental revision of assumptions that underpin our entire understanding of human history and human potential. We have now walked through the complete case of Oak Island Money Pit. 225 years of digging and still no answer, from the historical record, through the physical evidence, across the competing theories, and into the modern significance of what remains unresolved. What the story of Oak Island ultimately reveals is not just a historical puzzle, it is a mirror. It reflects our assumptions back at us, our assumptions about what ancient people were capable of, about how knowledge is gained and lost across the centuries, and about the relationship between what we know and what we merely think we know. The evidence presented in this documentary is real. The questions it raises are genuine. The debate among researchers is ongoing, and that is healthy. Science is not a set of conclusions. It is a process. And the process requires that we remain open to evidence that challenges what we thought we knew, however uncomfortable that challenge might be. If you came to this documentary as a skeptic, we hope the evidence gave you something to think about. If you came as a true believer, we hope the critical examination gave you a more nuanced picture. The truth, as always, lies in the evidence, not in what we want to be true. Thank you for watching. If this investigation sparked your curiosity, please subscribe to the channel. We publish new documentaries every week, covering the full range of historical mysteries that the mainstream has not yet adequately explained. Leave a comment below telling us which case you want us to investigate next. The conversation continues. The investigation never ends.